maybe this would be a good time to talk about it,
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
birth control pill. There's a lot of, I mean, for years, I was one of those girls that I was in eighth grade, I was anemic, I was bleeding too much. So they said, oh, yeah, well, get on the pill. Within a year, I was experiencing depression. I had to be put on Zoloft. So, for me, it really steamrolled into mental health battles and not
Yeah.
necessarily treating the root of what was going on to begin with, right? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on just kind of the changing view on hormonal birth control because it is changing, and I'm seeing more and more, even from a conventional, not naturopathic standpoint, going, oh, we should reconsider how we approach hormonal birth control. But I'd love to hear your perspective on that from metabolism, from mental health, from all the above, because it impacts everything.
It does. It's kind of the elephant in the room.
It is.
Anyone who out there, if your listeners who already follow me will or have seen my books, will know that I'm, well, literally for decades, actually, I've been like had some strong critiques of hormonal birth control. So I've kind of possibly been part of this push to
I think you
really,
have. I know you
yeah,
have. Yeah.
yeah. So I may have to own some of that. I think, um, yeah. So I mean, there's different things going on. I just put it in context too, because you said it is changing. And yes, so just from my personal experience, trying to talk about this for a long, long time, even I want to say even 8 or 9 years ago, even which is not that long,
Mm.
it was not allowed on Twitter to critique the pill in any way, shape, or form. Like it was really anything, like even just saying, oh, mood or oh, microbiome, or like just any, like the tiniest
Mhm.
little, critique was an immediate slap down on Twitter
Yeah.
from which that has changed. So as you say, like now, if you say, oh, hormonal contraceptive medication and mood, you get most doctors are like, yeah, or most experts even are saying, well, the data is there. Um, so it's been a journey, and I think just so give it a bit more historical context, it's really only been 60 or 70 years that these medications have been routine. That feels like forever for young people, maybe. It's like, well, that's just
Mm.
we've always had hormonal birth control, but we haven't.
Right.
And I think the future generations will look back because as well as being a former biologist and very interested in things from that angle, I'm also love history. So I do love thinking about I follow a bunch of medical historians, and it's always looking back is always so informative because we look back at the crazy stuff that doctors used to do. Like
Yep.
seriously, like through our lens, it's like, wait, what? They were like, that seems very weird. But at the time, that was, you know, that was gold standard practice. So every
Mhm.
generation is going to have their thing. This is what we do. This is what works. And then future generations have the benefit of perspective and distance to think that was crazy. And so I do predict, hope I live long enough to see this, that future generations will look back at the era of contraceptive drugs, of hormonal birth control, of routinely switching off women's ovarian hormones and replacing them with synthetic versions that do not have the same benefits in
Right.
almost any way, shape, or form. I think future generations are going to look back at that and think, what? Like, wait, what? What were we doing? Like, it would be an analogy I've used a lot. People might have heard me say this before. Like, it would be like saying to men, like routinely, like hundreds of millions of men, it's like, look, young men, you don't need your testosterone or your testicular function until you're ready to make a baby. So we're going to
Right.
switch that off because that's like a pesky nuisance. And we're going to replace your testosterone and all its benefits with this other molecule that's kind of like testosterone, but really not, and kind of more like estrogen, but it has some other effects. And we're going to consider that fine for your health. And
Wow.
so that is what's happened. And obviously, within that, there's lots of nuance